Welcome to Live with Lewis for June 16th, 2005. Hi, I'm Tim Gore, enrichment teacher for the School District of Clayton, Missouri, and part of your Lewis and Clark Then and Now education team, and I'm happy to welcome you to today's program. Normally, of course, you'd be seeing Scott Mandrell here in the host role for Live with Lewis, but today he's taking a very well-deserved break with his family. Before going on that break, however, he created a program that we're going to show you today, giving you tape footage of his last 3 weeks on the river. Our previous program occurred on May 26th, and then Scott Mandrell and his colleagues were in James Kipp State Park, Montana. Since then, of course, they've left James Kipp State Park, traveled on up the Missouri River, through the White Cliffs area, the Upper Missouri River Breaks National Monument, to the confluence of the Marias and Missouri Rivers, and, of course, to the Great Falls. And today's program is going to give you a travelogue of those 3 weeks. You'll see the sights, the sounds, the people, and places of this beautiful area of our country, and we're very happy that we're able to bring it to you. Though we won't be able to answer them live during the program, we do still want to have your email questions sent to us, and we will send you email responses. That email address is lewisandclark@clayton.k12.mo.us. So feel free to send us your questions. Hopefully you'll enjoy today's program. It's full of beautiful and important information, and we look forward to seeing you in 2 weeks on June 30th. When we'll be doing a live program from Great Falls, Montana as part of the National Bicentennial Signature event happening there, Explore the Big Sky. So we hope you can join us to find out about the commemoration activities occurring in Montana. Until then, enjoy the sights and sounds of Montana today.
And here you see us approaching James Kipp State Park, where we conducted our last broadcast from. We joined you on the 25th of May. Here you see the large rock formations, which are becoming a distinguishing feature in this area. And here, as we're approaching the area known as the White Cliffs, the wild and scenic portion, we start to see unusual rock formations, unusual deposits of calcium and that sort of thing. And here we are at the Sand Creek Wildlife Station, the BLM facility that manages this area of the lower wild and scenic in James Kipp. After leaving James Kipp, we moved forward just a little bit to resupply, and here you see the Judith Mountains, named after Julia Hancock, William Clark's life. And here we are briefly taking on our fuel and supplies at Winifred, Montana, and that's all there is to the town. Not much to it, as most of the towns in this portion of Montana are, and Temiskaming, the Chinook canoe that travels with us. And here we are making our way back down to Heller Bottom. 2 of our men had continued to paddle at this time, and while we took on supplies and our day off after 3 or 4 days in the water, and we're passing through an area ravaged recently by fires. Wild turkey, of course, an unusual sight, but a sight that the original expedition would have seen. Much of this area is full of wildlife, and dramatic change here in the upland areas around what is still a traditional river bottom. As we descend back into the river bottom, you see the sparse cottonwoods and that sort of thing. And here's an unusual graffiti in some sandstone there, and some of those dating back to the 19th century. And the next morning, Frank Bechtold and Randy Slow, 2 of our members, arriving at our campsite here, where we had rendezvoused with them and where we'll begin paddling for the next few days. And of course, Bison going to greet them as they make their way in after their night out on the river, making their way up some 10 miles to Heller Bottom from Kipp.
And these guys just arrived at Heller Bottom about 9:20. They left yesterday morning from from the Fred Robinson Bridge. Mission accomplished. And here we are taking advantage of a very appropriate and worthy spot for us to put in the boat here at Heller Bottom. So we're switching canoes here, and as you can see, we can go in almost anywhere. We call this Jawbone Camp.
There's an opportunity to see portaging underway, and here are a couple of canoe paddlers, a couple of canoes coming downstream, and we were an object of interest for them. And here's an unusual sight from the water level itself as we make our way up the Missouri River. The constant flow of the Missouri River quite evident in this shot here, and an unusual one, and we're happy to be able to share this with you. And here you see again the many dwellings of the water creatures, beaver and otter, along the shoreline. And as we continue up, we run into a number of unusual craft. Here is a boat that has some sails on it, and about 6 canoes tied together using tarps as sails as they make their way down the Missouri River. And they're involved in celebrating the Bicentennial. Many folks doing that at this time of the year. Beautiful area here, and you see the goat trails. These are not human paths, these are animal paths that parallel the river as we make our way along. And there you see the canoe in a slough, an area behind an island.
Well, this looks like a good place to regroup just a little bit. And lo and behold, we walk up the hill. And curiously enough, today is May 25th, 2005.
Today would be the 25th of May 2005. And of course, we're at the campsite for May.
And we see along the way many of the abandoned home sites here in the Wood Hawk Bottoms area, an area where settlers want to strip wood from the cottonwoods and to sell it to the steamboats as they made their way by during the 19th century.
Are you pushing yourself?
Beautiful landscape, quite stark and striking. Easy for the imagination to wander, as Lewis's did when he saw these different formations. There you see one of the homestead cabins, long abandoned. Many of these now protected by the BLM. We'll see a little bit later in the broadcast some in particular. Incredible caves and a lot of places affording an opportunity for the animals to live out their lives in this largely unadulterated portion of the Missouri River corridor of the Missouri River Valley. This area rich with wildlife, all sorts of animal life in this area. Another rock formation here suggesting almost the head of an animal, perhaps a brontosaurus, we imagined as we made our way along, and seeing these dramatic natural carvings. Wind and water have left their mark along this area.
Well, as luck would have it, we were a little short on food today, and we're walking along, and we found all these morel mushrooms growing along the bank, so that was a very advantageous find today for us. And those are incredible cutbanks.
Here, one of the homesteads that has been preserved by the Bureau of Land Management, and a unique place, and one of the many attractions along the wild and scenic portion of the river. As people float by, these areas are available for them to see. Many of these places abandoned by their one-time tenants, literally left as they were the last day they were there. Some of them, in fact, inside have many personal belongings, shoes, cooking implements, and those sorts of things. These areas are all protected now, preserved for other folks to have the opportunity to see what life must have been like for those early settlers as they tried to eke out a living and an existence in this barren and harsh landscape. And as always, the pelicans. The pelicans seem to be perhaps the most constant animal that we encounter along the way. Each and every day on the river, these pelicans at night would pass our camp as they moved upriver, always moving upriver seemingly. And a beautiful sight it was, and something we became not only used to seeing, but eager to see each day. It sort of punctuated our day on the river, and here you see again another flight of pelicans, quite beautiful as they make their way into the western sky, and you'll see them in the sunset in just a moment, and a beautiful and dramatic end to each day on the Missouri River.
unique formations along the river. And that's where we're going.
Again, traveling by canoe affords us the opportunity to spend a great deal of intimate time with the animal life, and there you saw a deer and your golden eagle. Many of the animals seemingly untroubled by our presence as we moved silently paddling against the river over these past couple of months. And here, what I referred to as Atlas Rock or Globe Rock, and there you see what appears to be almost the outline of Africa there on this near spherical rock, and of course a rattlesnake that was along the shoreline. Rattlesnakes were very, very common in this area, and we tried to avoid them at every opportunity. There were a couple of incidents where we had near misses with them, and of course here we are arriving at the ferry at McClellan Ferry, where we had the opportunity to meet with some folks there.
This is Grace Sanford. She runs the ferry. What's your name?
Grace Sanford.
And what's your email?
T. Haley San. THALESAN at Montana in Touch, which is MTINTOUCH.net.
Thank you, Grace, for everything.
And here we are descending into the Judith River bottom, where the Judith and the Missouri River convene. A beautiful area, of course, named again after Julia Hancock, the love of William Clark's life. And you see the fertile ground here. Water is life in this part of Montana, and in this very, very special area, you see the green, fertile river bottom emerging again as we come to the confluence of the Judith and Missouri rivers.
That store doesn't have anything, just got some pop.
And here we begin preparing for our ascent of the White Cliffs in our 220-pound cottonwood dugout. We spend a couple of days in this area, or one day actually, practicing with the dugout again and preparing for what will be about 4 or 5 days in the White Cliffs. Quite beautiful as we prepare to move through, as the original Corps did, and conduct an exercise in buoyancy and actually to try whether or not a dugout of this size would be appropriate. We know that many of the larger dugouts are just not feasible to be moved against the current here, and with the sandbars and all. The large ones that oftentimes are shown at visitor centers and things are just not physically capable of making this ascent of the Missouri River in this area.
Happy Bicentennial!
Hey, you're going the wrong way!
You are going the wrong way.
And here now we're going to simply let the tape roll and let you enjoy.
Yeah, we were filming is the 30th of
Missouri River
May, Memorial Day,
that very, very special
2005.
portion known as the White Cliffs. Lewis spoke so eloquently about.
We are paddling the dugout through the White Cliffs. And we look across the way there, and course, one of the most familiar sights on the landscape out here.
Canoe, canoe! Special treat for us, of course, was running into some of the downstream paddlers, and here we met some gentlemen in period clothing moving their parade.
Good speed on the water. Happy Memorial Day.
Taking on the water, are you, or
Well,
taking on some water?
always, yeah.
Always. Flag and war.
And paddling with us through this portion of the river, Jay Moose, as he's otherwise known, Jones, and Jeff Troop. And here you see the swallows. Swallows, one of the hallmarks at both the beginning and the end of the White Cliffs, as they make their homes along these sheer bluff lines and in areas inaccessible to predators here. On a rare occasion, we do see evidence of human activity, and here, although many of the home sites are abandoned, there is still in the White Cliffs the odd inhabitation, and here you see a homestead that is still lived in, and there was actually a family enjoying their Memorial Day along the banks of this beautiful river where they still live and call home.
Just a rock on the river. Happy Memorial Day!
31st of May, and we are passing And here it is on the 31st of May. We're making our rendezvous with our supply canoe. Randy and Frankie coming down, and there you see the hole in the wall. That's the wall. You can't see the hole right now. A couple of other folks out there today paddling.
Hi, gentlemen. How was your first couple days on the trip?
Very well, thanks.
Beautiful. Very good. I like to hear good morale, good progress. You guys are making good progress, further than you should be. You're ahead of schedule. I don't know. Carry on. Yeah.
Oh, up top.
Yeah, okay.
Looks a little wider this direction.
How many rattles we got on?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
Pretty good size one. All right.
Just keep in mind that my little camera.
Did you hear the guys on the little ferries clapping? They were all clapping. Pulling through. Scott, get behind.
Nice home.
Coming left, coming left. Coming left, Moose.
Get on preparing our meal.
May 31st.
Oh yeah.
Eagle. And here we are, Moose Jones is skinning a couple of rattlesnakes this morning. What do you got there, Moose?
This is a nice rattler. It's a big fat daddy.
And got two of them yesterday. And we happened upon some Szechuan noodles from a downstream paddler. And we're thinking maybe a Szechuan rattler kind of appetizer might work out well later. Get a little light on meat right now.
Yummy. Catfish, then. It will feed us happily. Seems to have had a trauma here in the midsection.
Yeah. I think it was a cottonwood trauma. June 1st, 2005.
Going for the acoustics.
That is a wackolith where the magma has come up through the earth. Come here, buddy. Bison. Bison.
Look at all this cactus here. Beautiful. Yeah, I think that's a good shot. You want to do that? You want to get over there?
You got copies of everything I got.
Yeah, let him trade spots. That is a great spot right there.
Don't go sliding down here. That's a no-no.
That's a water slide you don't want to take. Boy, Bison.
Cliff swallows.
That's funny, that's what you see going in, huh? You see going in, see coming out. Good job, Bison. Good boy.
Got him! We got him!
Hey, paddle backwards, Jay, on the left, on the left, on the left. There you go. Come on, buddy. Wow. You getting them poking their heads out?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, look at that coming underneath here, man.
I got it.
You know, if it gets colder, I'm gonna have to rendezvous with that other boat.
We're at Coal Banks and Virgil Ferry today. Today is the 2nd of June. We're right where the original expedition was on the same dates, and we're visiting today with Jim. What's your name?
Jim Griffin.
Jim Griffin, and you and Don Sorensen run this place. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And could you tell us a little bit about Coal Banks, what Coal Banks is, and the history of the place?
Well, Coal Banks Landing got its name from the steamboat era, the 1860s, the late 1800s, when the steamboats were actually coming upriver to Fort Benton from St. Louis. And Coal Banks Landing was developed primarily to offload the equipment and supplies for the building of Fort Assiniboine, which is near Havre.
Okay. And there's only a couple of buildings here.
Yeah, Virgil got it started at the turn of the 20th century, and the founders of the town, Virgil and Ella Blankenbaker, had some pretty big dreams for a bigger town. Of course, they laid the town out on a plat, and the railroad came through later, and the homesteaders came in, and things boomed for a while, and then of course we had the Dust Bowl era, which kind of brought all that to a quick end.
So we're going to take a look at, we're going to show our viewers a couple of shots of the outside of the bank building, and this is the mercantile building. That's it, really, right? That's all there is.
That's all that's left except for the grain elevator.
And the ice house, right?
And the ice house.
Which is now very practically applied to the application. It's now the shower house.
People really appreciate it.
Yeah, it was great. We certainly did. But so now primarily you run a bed and breakfast here, and essentially there's a canoe outfitter operation here.
Canoe outfitting, and we have some little cabins that we rent in the yard. And
so if somebody's traveling the Lewis and Clark Trail, this is a good place to stop if they're looking around this area as far as a place to stay or something like that. But it's also a good place to actually start a float through the White Cliffs, right?
Yes, it's probably the most launch point for people that are looking to float through the White Cliffs.
Where do most people go when they leave here as far as when they do their float? They go from here to Kipp or from here to Judith Landing, or what's?
Coal Banks to Judith Landing is probably 80% of the time spent on the river by floaters.
And how long does that take somebody to do that?
We recommend 3 days, but it can be done in less time. And if you really want to hike and see things, take 4 days.
Right. And that all goes through the wild and scenic portion of the Missouri.
It's all the wild and scenic.
Yeah, the White Cliffs, and a lot of BLM campsites down there that are pretty well developed.
Yeah, so. BLM has done a lot to develop that section of the river, 48 miles.
Great. All right. And so tell us, if somebody's interested in finding out about what you're doing here and that sort of thing, how can they contact you? What's the best way?
Well, the best way, the most informative way, is to go on the web at www.paddlemontana.com.
Okay, pretty good looking website. Who takes care of that for you?
Well, I do that, other things.
Right. All right. Thanks so much, Jerry. We certainly enjoyed our stay here.
Well, we enjoyed having you guys.
Thank you. There's the road from Virgil Ferry, and you can see the old bank building here. Okay, here we are. It is June 2nd. This was our... And here we are at the mouth of the Marias decision point, where we terminated this exercise and prepared for the portage, the upstream end of the Wild and Scenic at Loma. We're visiting with Dick Fickler from the Bureau of Land Management this morning. Thanks for being here for just a second, Dick, and for the broadcast. If you could tell everybody a little bit about the land out here. This is all, we've been dealing with National Park Service and other federal agencies for the last few years, but Bureau of Land Management has oversight of all this area. Is that correct?
That's correct. We have the Upper Missouri River Breaks National Monument with 300,000 acres surrounding us here, and then the Upper Missouri National Wild and Scenic River is the corridor along the river, and that's 149 miles. Both of those are under management by the Bureau of Land Management.
Great. And so how many people in the summer, and obviously summer's your big travel time, what kind of numbers do you have with regard to people taking advantage of the Wild and Scenic and traveling through this area?
Oh, probably around 5,000, 5,500 right in there for the last couple of years.
Great, very good. And so if somebody wanted to find out more about how to do this, where would they go? Online or phone calls? Or?
They can go online to blm.gov, or they can go to the phones. Lewistown's number is 406-538-1900, and the Lewistown office will be able to give them information.
Great, and BLM has got some terrific sites along the way. We took advantage of some of those camping areas and doing a great job. We certainly appreciate it. Hopefully a lot of people come out and enjoy the trail.
I hope so too.
Thank you, Dick.
Take care.
That. Yeah. It looks mean today, buddy. It looks mean today. Yeah, we couldn't tell. Look at them banks, nowhere to walk.
And like our predecessors, just this past week, discovering the falls of the Missouri River. And here you see, of course, they are all dammed up now, but still quite an impressive sight. Tremendous amount of water making its way through these areas. And it was these falls that first recorded with the original expedition 200 years ago. We've enjoyed bringing this portion of the trail to you, and we look forward to seeing you in a couple of weeks when we continue. Until then, we proceed on. I want to thank all of those who participated this year with us: Frank Bechtold, Randy Slow, Jay Radkin, Churchill Clark, Jay Moose Jones, and Jeff Troop, Renell Pankowski, Dave Ever from the Royston area, and all the many folks at Forest National Park Service, the Bureau of Land Management, and all the other folks who made this possible. Thanks to the School District of Clayton, Missouri, the United States Army National Guard Bureau, and of course, all the men and women along the trail, like the native guides of 200 years ago, who helped to make our journey possible. Once again, thank you so much, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks. Until then, my name is Scott Vandrell, your Captain Lewis, proceeding on.